ask a question to the group? So when, when you're facing those questions from clients or potential clients, and they're looking for, marketing, they're looking for marketing, not even a strategy or a plan. I know that one of the things that we like to do is try and get down to the nitty gritty, by asking some questions. But then do you charge that as a consultation, or are you putting that in the marketing strategy itself, in the development of that?
So it really bothers me. I don't have a camera. I'm sorry. So you can go either way, but if you're actually doing this process for a client, so we're still trying to come back here and solve this equation, right? So as an agency for a client, the VMV work, helping them get clear on their vision, helping them understand where they're going to be 12 months from now, which you as the marketer absolutely have to have that information, or else it's like, what are we doing here, right? Like if we don't have, and I like my puzzle analogy for Matt, since he's in the puzzle business. If you don't have the picture on the box, there's no, you might get lucky and be able to put the puzzle together, but it's going to be really frustrating and take a long time, right? So the VMV, this is the picture on the box, on the puzzle box. And in the past, I've charged for this on the low end about $2,500 up to about $5,000. But this is one of those things where I'm kind of shying away from this language of vision, mission, values, because everybody has their perception of what that means. And most, especially if you're working with the CEO or the founder of the business, they're going to be like, well, I have my vision, mission, and values, right? And it's, probably some nice trite statement under the picture of a kitty cat hanging from a branch on a poster that's in the bottom of someone's drawer, right? It doesn't help you as a marketer define your job, which is what we need. So you can call this whatever you want. The blueprint, the plan, vision, mission, values, whatever you want to call it. But I do find that when I walk through this process, which is exactly what's in the training on the website, the feedback from people is they're like, oh my God, this is so valuable to get this clarity out and understand what it is we're doing here. Then we're coming in and we have to solve that master marketing equation, right? And I'm going to just copy it from up here. And this is a process. And so this also, by the way, should take around 2 weeks. Might be sooner, might be less, might be a little more. It depends on how much time you can get with your client, how resistant they are to this work, stuff like that. Now, we come in here and we have to say, okay, we got to solve this master marketing equation for you. And again, I'll use you, Matt, as the example. And this goes to what we were talking about yesterday. You're right person. We have a choice here. We can guess and say, oh, we think it's the Colorado native, super proud to be a Coloradan. Or we can say it's the tourist looking for souvenirs. Or it's the fashionable fashionista Colorado loving person. Like we can define this right person any way we want. What I teach in the course is to come in and say, when we're solving for the right person, let's make the assumption that your most profitable customer is your ideal customer, right? So that's where we go in and do, in your case, Wendy, we would go and look at, all right, who are your clients over the last 12 months? How many did you have? 5, 6, 7? Pretty low transaction volume, right? Because you're working on a longer term basis. In Matt's case, he has an e-commerce company. So we have to break it out one step above that and say, all right, rather than the right person, we first have to identify what's the most profitable product or product line design something like that. So in my supplement business, where we have, I think about 13 different SKUs, we go, what's the number one selling product? And let's just start there, right? Because again, we're hopefully creating a formula or a machine that's replicatable. So if we do it with our top producing product, then we can just move down the chain and do it with the second one and the third one and blah, 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 blah. But so we come in and we do this profit analysis on who the right person is. And this process, is pretty quick. Like, Wendy, you can go to your accountant and say, please give me a list of all my clients for the last 12, 13 months. In the next column, you want gross revenue. And then in the third column, you want actual real profit, EBITDA. And then we sort that. And we want to only look at profits, right? Revenue doesn't matter, because we've all had those clients where we make a lot of money. We sell them a lot of money, but we don't make any money, right? Like, they just suck up every penny. So there's no profit margin in some clients. We want to work with the clients who are the most profitable. And then we do that 80-20 analysis, right, on that list, where we say, all right, as a percentage, one second, because I think visually, if you see this, it'll make a little bit more sense.
Wendy, I think you're thinking along the right lines in regard to, how your customers come to you. They're typically asking you for a tactic and not a strategy. And of all people, would know that not always does the tactic work the way they thought it was going to work. And so you just want that relationship to start from a foundation that's much stronger than just the tactic du jour, right?
Right.
And how they pay you to do it is up to you. It's just that it gets done so that relationship is started from a better fundamental place.
Right. And one of the things that when I first started the business, really everything was based on a product, right? We provided a product to them, but we are at that point, and we've seen, just by adding small steps to adding a service versus just a product, that of course our revenue has increased, but our long-standing relationships with our clients has increased. And I want to continue to do that and be able to provide value, but then of course increase the bottom line, so that we're not working so hard on simply product, but really strategizing and creating value.
Yeah.
Amen.
And it protects you too, right? Because again, in the marketing world, that idea of scope creep gets crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you can say, all right, we're just going to let's take even this morning's example, right? Like, one simple little YouTube funnel, the amount of work that has to go in to make that thing work is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you're doing graphic design, and you have to do page design, and then you have to do CRO and optimization, and then you have copywriting, and then blah, 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 blah. The client doesn't understand that at all. All they understand is, why don't I get leads? And you're sitting here going, Jiminy Christmas, I'm trying everything I can under the sun, but you don't understand the process. And all of a sudden, then your profitability just dries up, because you're spending all your time trying to make this thing work, and they're not paying you for your work, right? And so by using going down this process, one, you can charge for all this stuff, right? But two, it will help your client understand the complexity of what we're trying to do here, I think, a little bit better, and give you a much more solid footing to come back to them. And it will position you to be like the absolute expert, right? Because you're not guessing.
Right. And that creates a loyalty from them as well, which of course we want that.
You go through this process with them and you'll blow their socks off.
Yeah.
So let's continue the conversation, right? So we're talking about identifying the right person for your business, right? Who's your right client? So this is a worksheet you have access to in the course, but this is just sample data I made up, right? So if I'm a and it's down here. I don't know if you can see this tab, but so for low transaction volume businesses like yours, right? You only get a couple of clients a year. That's fine.
Mhm.
You put the client in here. You know, you can do what kind of a business they are, that sort of thing. So then you have their revenue, gross sales. How much money did you make as a profit? Then you put in here the percent total of profit. And then over here, you can come in and all you do is you take this profit percentage of the total and it actually does it for you. It'll add it up, but we're looking to find the 80-20. So these clients here represent 80% of the profit I made last year. They're the ones I want to focus on,
Mhm.
right? So then what I do is I come in and I say, oops, wrong button. I want to do this. So we can forget about those bottom clients. What we do now is, can you see how this totals 80% of your profit. Now we can come in and say, all right, well, let's look at these clients. What about them? Well, there's one holding company. There's 3 consulting companies. There's 1 mining company and 2 manufacturing. All right. Well, it makes sense then to probably identify my ideal client as the professional consulting, because that's 3 out of the 7.
Mhm.
Again, we're just stacking the odds of probability in our favor, right? And then we can come in. So now we can say, all right, I'm building out this expensive marketing funnel, jigamaragabrew, whatever, right? However that looks. So now you've helped your client do this 80-20 analysis. I don't know what I would charge for this. I would probably do this as a package deal. But this too, like if you were to do this for a client, they would look at you like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Right? Like this Wendy's not messing around. And they would have so much confidence in you, right? So we do that analysis. I can't say how much you could charge them for it, whatever, because it really isn't that much work. It's just the knowledge of what to do that matters, right? So this, now we've identified the right person. Now we need to do the right messaging. And so the right messaging in the course takes, again, you have 2 camps. You've got high volume and low volume transaction. So like in Matt's case, where he's got high transaction volume, sales every day, he can do a bit more like what we call a deep dive survey, and kind of like an online survey, because he'll get that data quick. In your case, you don't. Like doing an electric survey to your 8 or 9 clients is not going to work. So what we do is we then come in and say, all right, we're going to do telephone interviews. And there's a whole process by which we do that where it's very structured. How do I say this? Not unassuming, but you don't want to lead the conversation. You don't want to say, well, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? We don't want them to think. We just want them to share their experiences. But basically the idea is, well, okay, what was the pain you were trying to solve when you hired Wendy to do your marketing or build your website or whatever the service was? Because again, it's everyone's heard that, right? Like the hole in the wall versus the nail versus the hanging the picture. No one's buying the screwdriver, they're buying, or the nail, they're buying the picture hanging on the wall. So we want to find out, what is the picture on the wall for your client? What is the problem that you solved for them? They needed to get online. They didn't have a website. You gave them a website. Could be as simple as that. But the right message then becomes, what is that problem you solved for them? And like in Matt's case, where he's an e-com business, it's not necessarily a problem. Like no one's actively saying, hey, I need a Colorado t-shirt. That's a problem, right? That's not necessarily the thing for him. So it's a little bit different process for him. But that's the idea of what is the right message. And so in Zahir's case, we kind of skipped over this a little bit, but he's also got a decade of experience where he could pull from. And I've done a deep dive survey through other venues, and all the work Rich Dad, Poor Dad I've done with them is pretty similar. So we can extrapolate from all that. And that's where we come up with, this is where we generate the kind of the power offer idea, right? Like, let's come up with that. Hey, if this is you and you're looking for this, let's talk. I mean, it's just that straightforward. It's not marketing. It's not, hey, download this XYZ report, you know, and then I have to educate you on why you need this. And then I have to educate you on why us, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. We go right for the offer. Hey, if this is you, let's talk, right? That's the right message. And in that same time, when you're doing those phone interviews, we say, all right, client, when you were looking to solve that problem of getting a website, where did you go to find someone to solve that problem? Did you talk to your neighbors? Did you search Google? Did you go to YouTube? Did you go to Snapchat? Did you go to Pinterest? Like, where did you go to find a web designer? And that, the answer to that question is going to be your marketing strategies, right? And I threw the Snapchat and Pinterest in there because they're ridiculous. No one goes there to find a web designer, right? So those are not your marketing strategies. What is probably, you know, the Google or the business groups, Chamber of Commerce, something like that. I don't know. And that's the point, is we don't know until we ask. But once they tell you, now you have, all right, here's my 1, 2, 3 strategies that we're going to spend our time working with you and deploying. And this is also, Wendy, what's going to separate you from the competition in terms of you're not beholden to the strategies. You don't need to be the Facebook expert. You don't need to be the Google expert. You don't need to be the expert on this endless hamster wheel of learning, which is where all your competition is, right? They're buying everything they can get their hands on about Facebook advertising or Google advertising or SEO or blah, blah, blah. What separates you, the high dollar marketer, is you just need to know what is the strategy, what is the right message, and who we're showing it to. Then you can go hire the people to execute that. That's just the drywaller, plumber, and electrician, right? You're the master, you're the architect, making the blueprint. You can go hire the professionals to do the work, and they can probably do it far better than you can anyways, right? Because they spend their entire day putting up drywall. Why would you get your hands dirty putting in drywall, right? And that also will protect you from scope creep, because you basically can really define, you know, the strategy and the definition of the scope. So it's like, hey, we have all the messaging. We're going to control the funnel, the page design, all this stuff. All I want you guys to do is the media buying, right? And so it gives you the control over it a little bit better. Now, this I can put a price on. So this process of coming up with, and then the last piece, of course, is, you know, you need to make sure you have the right offer. And that's, you know, the bundle of services that you provide. That's kind of what we're defining here. And then your USP, which separates your offer from every other marketing agency out there. Now, this process, doing the deep dive survey, doing the phone interviews, coming up with the real information, solving the real master marketing equation, that is worth a lot of money. If someone were to come to me today and ask me to do it for them, my min would be, I probably wouldn't even consider doing the work for less than 30 grand. And it would probably take, I would budget in at least 4 to 6 weeks just to get that piece done. Because once you have it, now you can now you're in a position where we are was here in Cola, where we can go start getting into the actual strategies and executing. And the idea is once we nail down that strategy or traffic source, then we can just turn up the volume and scale. But it's again, going back to the puzzle analogy, you have to put the pieces in order. You know, a puzzle, each piece of the puzzle only has one unique mate. And so your right person has one unique message that they're shopping for, and they have one unique place that they go to find that. And so we're putting this all together, you know, like a system. It is literally a blueprint, right? And on the high end, you know, when we did this work with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what did we charge him? I think we charged him 10 grand a month, and it actually took 11 months. So it was over 6 figures we made with them. Right. And the cool part is, like, if you're coming back to your vision work, right, where you're at now, if you come in and say, hey, I want a little bit more of a lifestyle business than this rat race, have 100 clients type of a business, you can come in and say, all right, look, if that's what I want, maybe we should just focus on doing this kind of work for this kind of client. And if you're charging 10 grand a month per client, you only need 3 or 4 or 5 clients a month. And they're happy to pay it. You're happy to do the work, but you're not overloaded and scrambling and doing scope creep and all this stuff. So that's more along the lines of like a fractional CMO agency. You know, you have fewer clients for more money. So, and then, so now you've set all this up, Wendy. Now we're just executing. Now you're just managing the process, the media buyers, the copywriters, the webpage designers. And it becomes, now you have a marketing business that you can run and scale if you choose, right? It's all systematized. And then the final piece of the puzzle is obviously the metrics, right? Like, what are the company level metrics, which is usually lifetime value of a customer. So going back to that spreadsheet, we can come in and say, all right, look, this company, if this is our client base for the last whatever year, we can just take this column. This is, you know, a really easy and average, right? The average of these, our average lifetime value of a customer is $6,000 maybe. I mean, there's different computations for that, but that's what we need to know as a marketer. So now we know we can go spend theoretically up to $6,000 to get a new client and still be profitable.
So where do you guesstimate that most marketers, I mean, ideally they're not spending $6,000 to get a client, but
No.
with that lifetime value, I have a client that gets 35,000 lifetime value. But you know, I'm just wondering where you think where their spending is relative to that LTV.
Well, so that goes to the question of, I always talk to these business owners, and one of my favorite questions is, well, what's your marketing budget? And how do you choose that budget? Oh, well, we take 15% of gross sales or some random number, right? And you're like, why? Instead, let's say, okay, how about if we just set your marketing budget based on your lifetime value of a customer from a profit standpoint, not a revenue standpoint, and build out your marketing budgets around that. Like I did a presentation 2 weeks ago with a gentleman who owns an agency in Texas, and he told me he actually tracked his lifetime value of a customer. He said it was $150,000 per customer. And so I was talking to him about this program, and he goes, well, how much is it? And I go, well, you just got done telling me your customer's worth 150 grand to you, right? And if we do what we say we're going to do, and we can go get you 2 or 3 new customers over the next 12 months, how much is that worth? $500,000. Okay. What do you think it's worth? And he's like, well, if you can generate me $500,000 in profit, I'll pay you at least half that. And I said, well, and this is where I got a little embarrassed. I was like, well, believe it or not, it's actually only right. So yeah, we are raising prices come first of the year significantly, right? Like this is going to go up to, when you know your LTV, you can make, again, objective choices and decisions that matter, right? And then the next metric, so those are company level metrics. You also have your strategy level metrics. And that's where we're at with Zahir and Cola, right? So they have a YouTube strategy going on. We need to know what's the conversion rate of the ad. That's a metric we need to know. What's the conversion rate of the landing page? That's a metric we need to know. What's the booking conversion rate? And then what's the sales conversion rate, right? So you have these benchmark numbers all the way down the process that you also need to keep an eye on. But if we have all these mapped out, Zahir, and we know, okay, we know the ad CR, we want it to get 1.5% or better. We want the landing page to be at least 10% or better. We want the booking rate to be whatever it is. And then once that funnel is built and you start generating leads and you can get a feel for what's your sales closing rate, now you have a machine. And now you have a management system that you as well can look at these numbers and on a weekly or monthly basis and say, all right, well, is our LTV remaining stable? Do we have the right customers? And then if there's a problem in your funnel, you look at these numbers. Well, the problem's not here. That's good. The problem's not here. That's good. The problem's here. Our booking page sucks. It helps you diagnose where the problems are to go fix versus, again, just guessing and throwing money randomly at different stuff.
Yeah, Russ, and everything that I'm going to put out for you, because it's been a really structured approach rather than just chucking crap against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. And, that's really all we're trying to do. Right. And so, again, it's not about, like, I don't want to come off or be, this marketing guru that I have to know everything. It's not about that. It's, can we just make some logical decisions and process-driven questions where it doesn't matter who's doing this. Anyone can do it. It's just, at the end of the day, theoretically, it should work.